What exactly is the root cause of insecurity? What exactly is it that we find so pleasurable that leads us to the point of confrontation, the type of confrontation that becomes a baseball situation and then turns rapidly into violence, into insecurity, into banditry, into kidnapping, into terrorism? I mean, that's the question quite a number of people are beginning to ask now, especially coming against the backdrop of Trump's threat. I mean, this Trump's threat is really causing a lot. I mean, it's bringing a lot of will I say, running around helter-skelter, left, right, and center. People are beginning to wake up from their slumbers. People in political offices now, they're beginning to make the tough decisions, put on the tough calls. The top shots are indeed put their boots in ground, talking about the military now, and bringing reconnaissance attacks here and there. I mean, 12 northern states, if I'm not mistaken, or about 23 northern states simultaneously. There was a coordinated attack helicopter, the Nigerian Air Force. That was possible before? No, I didn't know that was possible. But that was possible. And they did it in a very clean way. And let me borrow from the word they usually use. They say they neutralized the terrorist camps. They were neutralized. In other words, they were unalived. And we are beginning to see some successes. In fact, I think the COAS, has come out to saying that expect more. Nigerians expect more of this onslaught against the terrorists. But then we will uncover this morning on a topical issue that borders around the land grabbing, historical mistrust, illegal mining, responsible for violence and banditry and terrorism in Nigeria. In fact, this is as a response, if you like, to Trump's threat that what is going on in Nigeria, the killings going on in Nigeria, is a genocide against Christians. All right, so the presidency says no, it is not a genocide. They have identified historical mistrust, land grabbing, banditry, illegal mining as major triggers of violence in the north central region. Now, you should recall that in 2015, the Nigerian government launched an anti-corruption drive. This drive was included efforts to combat illegal mining and address historical grievances. Now, this was also in line with Wole Soyinka's assertion that religion is not the root cause of Nigeria's problem, but rather a complex mix of factors including politics, economics, and governance. And it brings me to the question: if historical mistrust, land grabbing, illegal mining, all of these is why we are where we are today in terms of insecurity, what then are the historical roots of conflicts in Nigeria, especially the Nigeria's northwest and middle belt regions? And can we ever see light at the end of the tunnel? Can we ever bring solution and calm to these regions? Since it's about historical roots of conflict, historical mistrust, land grabbing. Who's grabbing whose land? So that we put things in perspective so that everybody knows their boundaries. Isn't that why there is a geographical space called states? So who's grabbing whose lands? Well, as a Nigerian, I recall the devastating impact of conflict on communities, though. I mean, addressing historical grievances and promoting reconciliation is very crucial for peace and stability, though. But I remember also hearing stories of young men who were lured into violence with promises of money and power, only to be met with violence and death. Now, here's what happens. You lure young men into violence. You promise them power, you promise them monies. And then maybe you did for a while. You gave them supplies. They became your touts, your thugs. Maybe you did for a while take care of them. But at some point, when you saw no more the use of them, you either let them be redundant without pay, no more income, no more jobs, that means no more monies, or they now tend to fend for themselves, or you empower them with machinery to go and fend for themselves. If in the end you capture them, you killed them, neutralized them, and they have children, children grow up with the hatred of how their parents were maltreated or mistreated, so to speak, and they continue the same violent cycle over and over again. Little wonder Tekken B keeps saying that, look, you don't go after the branches of a tree. If you want to cut a tree, you don't go after the branches. You go to the roots. And that's why we are looking into the roots this morning. But according to the presidency, they say the roots cause of our violence and insecurity and banditry is land grabbing, historical mistrust, illegal mining. These are the triggers. Wale Soyinka is saying it's not religion. So nobody should say it's a Muslim Christian. No, that's not what it is. It's not a Muslim Christian war. Not at all. According to Wale Soyinka right there, he says that the problem is rather a complex one. It has mixed factors. Politics is number one. Economics is number two. And governance is number three. Well, I have my guest already on standby, is in the person of Benedict Olalekon Agunloye. And now he's an information professional, policy and public affairs analyst, and he'll be adding his voice in the discourse this morning. A very good morning to you, Sir Benedict.
Good morning.
Oh, great to have you this morning. Right. That's right. Now, well, we are looking at the conversation that borders around the identification of the presidency with regards to what the root cause of our insecurity, banditry, violence stems from, or where it stems from. Now, they have said that illegal mining, land grabbing, banditry, corruption, that this is where our issues stem from. And Wale Soyinka has also added his voice, saying that, look, this is not a Muslim-Christian war. It's not a religious war whatsoever. That is mostly a matter of governance, a matter that borders around not just governance now, but it borders around other factors like economics, like governance, like politics. What do you make of this?
Well, absolutely, the problem in the land is not that of it's not that of Peter.
Sorry?
Peter. Yeah, it's not an issue of religion or an opinion, but absolutely it is that of economy, it is that of resource control, and it is that of greed. Now, by nature and creation, God has made sufficient provision for the need of every man, but not for the greed of every man. And so it means that the resources that are available could be planned and be arranged. Now, when you check, even for those who read the Bible, cattle rearing and other businesses are issues that have been there age long from that time. And when you look at the Levitican laws, it makes provision for if animal damage your crops and this and that. So which means that God designed human to coexist. God expected that there will be friction. And so we are meant to make provision and adjustment to handle the friction. Right. So for me, therefore, there are people who are committed, right, to ensuring that there is crisis. That is the only way their illegal business and their greed can be satisfied. And so they can brand it any other name so that you don't look at the root cause, and therefore nobody is addressing it appropriately. As long as it has not been addressed appropriately, the problem will not go. You know, it's a case of a child has malaria. You are treating high body temperature. You are treating vomiting. As long as the malaria is not treated, the high body temperature would always come back. The vomiting would always come back. And so I think that those who are benefiting from the crisis are also the ones making effort to divert attention from the fundamental issues. Because at this stage, I think we should be talking about ranching. We should be talking about safeguarding our forests. It is not an issue of, I don't think whatever happened in the forest is Christian, Muslim, anything. No. In the forest, it is pure criminality and it is pure economic gains. And so if we take possession of the forest and we have it properly guarded, I always tell people that what we do as teenagers, no parent would allow their children to do it now. I'm from Ondo North, and you go into the forest on another day because there is no farm work, and you are there for 8 to 9 hours. You don't see the sunlight. I don't think that any parent today will allow a 15-year-old to go to the forest on his own in any part of Ondo North for 8 hours in the name of looking for anything. Why? Because those forests have become infested by criminals. And so you are not sure if anybody goes in there, they will come back alive. So I think that the energy and the deployment, therefore, should be looking at how do we use our land better? How do we ensure that our lands are better used? How do we ensure that the farmers and the headers can appropriately coexist? How do we ensure that they can appropriately coexist? Because the land is actually enough. The resources are enough. It is just the utilization and the coordination that are where the issues are. So that's basically what I think we should look at. The president, for me, has suggested the forest guard system. That should ensure the forest is right. There is the Ministry of Livestock. Ministry of Livestock should be looking for available land across the nation where we can have ranches. Whether the ranches will be owned by individuals or by local government or by the state government, and then people can graze in them. But we need to look better at how we allocate our land resources. We are not the only nation where people keep cattle and people do farming. In the north of UK, I used to know that you see on some roads, they tell you what time the cattle will be crossing the road. So even the transport system, the bus system on those routes are adjusted to make provision for that. So we are all here. We are meant to exist. Nobody is supposed to live for the other, in our opinion. But we need to arrange how that we will live together successfully. Elder Summers crisis did not start today. It was there in the time of the Bible, as far as I'm concerned. It was there in Nigeria before independence. It was there at independence. So it's not today that Fulani and the Agatu people, of course, have been fighting in Benin. No, they've been there before independence. So we should not celebrate it or brand it any other name. We should sit down and see how do we make them coexist. Do we need to fence some land? Do we need to do some kind of demarcation? Do we need to resettle some people? And then use the land appropriately. But above all, we need to take charge of our forests. We need to take charge of our borders. We should begin to use our security to protect the nation, not to protect individual pride and arrogance.
Right.
Not that the people that go around with politicians are more than those who are available to secure the land. For me, not that soldiers are carrying guns and guarding land in the city center when our borders are porous. When people can still bring containers across our coast, carrying arms and carrying Indian hemp and other form of drugs. So we should reprioritize the use of the few security forces that we have, but we must engage more. The Ministry of Solid Minerals should do more with their mining rangers or whatever they call them. Between the presidency, the Ministry of Environment, and whoever is concerned, the forest guard should be quickly engage and put in place. Take possession of the forest. If we have less ungoverned spaces, there will be less hiding places for criminals. So if you can smoke out the criminals or you can prevent them from inhabiting our environment, I think that we will be getting closer to resolving our problems.
All right, let me just open the phone lines already so that we can have family members, add your voices loudly and clearly. 0907-353-0044. That is the number to stick to if you want to be a part of this conversation already. 0907-353-0044. That's the only number. And you can get across social media platforms, Facebook and YouTube at Eagles FM Abuja. Leave a comment in the comment section and we will take your thoughts. Now, I was going to come to asking you one pertinent question. But before I do so, let's just hear from this family member. Hello, good morning. Hello? Hello, good morning. Okay, that's a miss. All right, now, Sir Benedict, would you say that Mr. President is aptly and correctly briefed by those concerned to tell him the true state of a situation or any situation at all? The reason I'm asking this is because just on Monday, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu received security and development briefings from his community engagement team. And that's where they resorted to land grabbing, historical mistrust, banditry, and illegal mining, major drivers of violence across Nigeria and Nigeria's northern central region. That's what a senior presidential aide said on Monday to Mr. President.
I don't have issues with what reports they are giving.
So is this
the reports have always been there and they are the truth.
Is it the
but
true?
What I would expect from them, the narrative I'm expecting from them, like I said, is
yes.
Number one, the ungoverned spaces. They are aware, we are aware. They should be telling us what they are doing to the ungoverned spaces. See, one of the issues why there is so much tension and land grabbing, why it is increasing, is also because people are afraid to go to those places called ungoverned. So if you bring them under governance and people can move around freely, there is so much land in Niger, but how many people can enter into Niger to do anything? Because you are afraid if you get into the forest, you can be kidnapped, anything can go wrong with you, right? So we know they are briefing, but what we are saying is they should be telling us, or we expect to see, when will the forest guard system take off?
Okay.
If the forest guard are on ground, they know who is in the forest. They know who is coming and who is going out.
All right, let me put a back to your thoughts.
So which means if you have X-men that are carrying weapons, you know.
Okay.
If you have farmers that are killing, you know. And then you can coordinate it and control them. But as long as those spaces remain ungoverned, whatever theory and name calling we are doing on the street is waste of time.
All right, let's hear from this family member.
Reality.
Yeah, let's hear from this family member. Hello, good morning.
Good evening.
Yes, Bright.
Good morning. This is Bright.
Yeah. Awesome. Bright, talk to us. Straight to the point.
Good evening.
Yes, please.
You see, in Nigeria, we are not sincere to ourselves. Let me ask you a question. If I have a land inheritance from my father, how much is this pastoral farming adding to Nigerians' economy? How much does one cow pay as tax to Nigeria's economy? You see people who have shops, you see local government area running all over them paying taxes on environmental, radio this one, land this one, this one. How much is this cow paying for Nigeria? Please let me tell you, we are just thinking of ourselves, talking about the farmer-sellers clash. They are talking about farmer-sellers clash. I don't believe in such things. How can somebody who is raising animals carry AK-47? Who is the owner of that AK-47? Who is the owner? Okay, really, let me ask you a question. In this Abuja, the highest of places in Nigeria, don't you see cows? How is it that they can't be removed in this country? Who are the terrorists? And when you keep, look, when people, when you sit in Abuja here, we talk about, when you speak English, go to the rural areas, and you see how people are being killed. And let me ask you a question again. How is it that 200 people, terrorists, are coming to town to kill people? Where are they living? Government officials and security agencies are going to dialogue with terrorists who have arms on their own. And after the dialogue, they still carry their arms to their different places. Where are they living? And they are telling us on government. Are they living in outside or are they living in Mars or Venus? We are not serious. We are the sponsors of this program until the bandits and terrorists and Islamists, until we catch them and tame them. There's nothing, if you like, speak English from here now to Maiduguri, just listen our time. Okay. And the president said that he knows everything before he comes to board, he's prepared. So whether that is not getting security report. Thank you.
Okay. So the president is very aware. That's what Bright is saying. He knows the situation of things, and so does not really need a briefing to solve these problems. But you also want to be a part of this. I mean, the presidency has already said that they've, there's been reports from the nooks and cranny of Nigeria, and they've reported back to Mr. President. They told him that historical mistrust, land grabbing, banditry, and illegal mining, they are the major drivers of violence across Nigeria's north-central region. All right? And so that's just it. Now, do you agree with that? Because Wole Soyinka has also added his voice, to the discourse. And it does seem as though Wole Soyinka is speaking from a different perspective view. The Nobel laureate, Professor Wole Soyinka, is responding to former U.S. President Donald Trump's claim that a Christian genocide is taking place in Nigeria. Now, he said, according to him, the conflict in Nigeria should not be described as a war between Christians and Muslims, but rather as a fight against extremists who use religion for political and economic purposes. That's why he says that it's mostly economic. What we are facing in terms of insecurity is economic and political as well. We'll just take this one and then go on a break. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning. Is this Talatu?
I'm Adama. I'm calling from Nasarawa State.
Adama, okay, from Nasarawa State. All right.
Yes, sir.
Welcome aboard. Talk to us.
I just on my radio and just had little conversation concerning this insecurity.
That's right. What do you think is the cause of insecurity, Adama?
Sir, government know what they are doing.
Okay, so you think
they know what they are doing.
You think it's an inside job?
How can someone come to my land and inherit my father's inheritance? Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you getting me?
Yes, go ahead, Adama.
Government, we have land in this country. Government has Savisa forest. Why can't they give the Fulani people Savisa forest so that they will develop the services forest for us, so that it will not be the hiding out for the for criminals and all these bandits and all these Fulani herdsmen that we are having issue. We have land in this country. Why can't they give them that place? Government should develop that place for them.
Okay.
So that we will have a border in that place. Okay. So that we will have development and have economy. Nigeria will have another source of income through that place.
Okay.
Okay. All these things, they know what they are doing. Okay. And it's like it's government that is sponsoring them for all these things that they are holding ammunition. They are holding guns, and individual cannot hold guns. They will ask you of the lancers of the gun, and Fulani will go with machetes, go with gun, and they will not ask them anything. They will see them, they will not ask them.
So you think that there is favoritism going on in society now, all right, where some individuals are more important than the others? Is that what you feel?
Having been individuals and holding ammunition, there is no way Fulani will kill you. When you go to farm and you have gun, me, I have gun. If you react, we will shoot each other.
Okay, no, that's not what we're wanting now, right now. But thank you, Adama, for that. I understand your frustrations when it comes to issues like this. I mean, if you've not been affected one way or the other, you'll be talking big. You will not understand the pain. But anyways, we are now saying let's shift away from the pain. Right? What would be the solution? And according to Adama right now, says let's give them all these these lands that are not that are ungoverned, so to speak. There's vast lands should be prepared, well prepared by the federal government for the headers, so that we don't have issues of land grabbing or headers clash and all of that. Well, she's only talking from one perspective, but the presidency has said many other issues. Historical mistrust. I'm trying to understand where that is coming from. But Sir Benedict, would you like to add your voice to this one, though?
Well, you see, what we are saying is still very straight. You say, go and give somebody Sambisa Forest. Have we taken possession of Sambisa Forest? Is a lot of the part of Sambisa Forest still not an ungoverned space?
Right.
The issue is the need to provide security both on the street and in the forest. If we continue to have unguarded space or ungoverned spaces, you cannot ask anybody to go there. And that's why we say the planning should be out. We have land.
Right.
How do we use the land, right? Between the herders and the farmers and the other people who are doing other things. You see, most people are responding and reacting from the sense of emotion. This thing is not about emotion. This is about reality. Emotion will die down. And whatever you did emotionally is not sustainable. So we need to sit down and open our eyes. And that's why we said, if we're going to have the forest gas system, we need to have it. And like the former governor in Ondo State will say, if you decide to live in the forest, you should be registered as somebody living in the forest.
Okay.
And we should know that you are armed. We should know the kind of arms and ammunition that you possess. And you would have to justify the basis for which you possess it. But if we don't know who is where, and we don't know what they carry, and then you are saying whatever grammar you like on the street, it won't work. So the practical reality is economy is at the foundation of this thing. And I heard the other person saying how much business is in cattle. No, sir. The people who even sell ordinary wara. Some of them are training children in school and they are making money. In Ondo North, that's what some women do. And they are doing well. Cattle go between 400 and 800,000 naira now per one. And then you say there is nothing in that business. If there is nothing in the business, the people in it will have quitted. But if we take proper control of the business and the process, then government can get its tax. The people who are doing it can do it correctly. The animals can become even more protected and the people more catered for. The idea about us is people just want to live and they don't care if others die. No, we need to come to that level of live and let live.
Right.
To make provision for everybody without destroying the fabric and the basis of existence of anyone.
All right.
So if you know, okay, you are coming to my territory, we can always say, oh, this is where you pass, this is where you cannot pass.
Right.
And you have that agreement, and there are government agencies on ground to supervise those things. But right now, a lot of things are not governed.
Right,
and some people are making a lot of money that are not controlled. They are making the money, they are not paying tax.
So let me.
They know that if you bring in government regulations and control, then the money can become monitored, the money they can become liable to pay tax, and a lot of people don't want to do those things. So it is the people who do not want processes to be followed that are engineering some of these crises. But with a better government presence, with less ungoverned spaces, you will discover that these things will become more difficult to perpetrate.
Okay.
But if we keep blaming and focusing on what happens on the street and name calling of the government, you will realize that those who are doing the illegal business will continue to prosper because we won't put in a process to challenge them.
Okay.
There must be a process to challenge them. There must be a process to end the freedom of their illegalities.
Okay, let me
those are the practical realities.
Yeah, you've given some very strong points right there. In fact, one of the things that you've anchored on has been the place of forest guards, which up until now we do not know if it's even up and running. Some people have advocated for state police. I mean, there's a lot that you've also said, but we've got a couple of messages now. Let's just go take them as quickly as we can. So this one is coming from Uchenna Ukwaba. It says, well, for me, Nigeria continues to face rising insecurity and violent clashes due to several key factors. High poverty and unemployment have driven many young people into crime, while ethnic and religious intolerance continues to create deep divisions. Corruption and poor governance have weakened public trust, and our security agencies remain underfunded and overstretched. Conflicts over land and resources, especially between farmers and herders, have also fueled violence in some regions, as reports of targeted attacks on Christian communities have added to the growing sense of insecurity and fear. Terrorism, banditry, and poor border control further worsens the situation. Until these root causes are properly addressed, true peace and unity will remain difficult to achieve. Uchenna Onowu is reporting from Lokogoma right there. See yet another one. This one is coming from Lion Boy from Lokogoma, and he says, good morning. Not too long ago, the Canadian courts called APC and PDP terrorist party, and recently Trump said he's coming to Nigeria to unalive terrorists. Not our president, but our presidency and other government officials became afraid and started issuing statements. And recently in Kano we saw protests just because Trump is coming to neutralize terrorists, not citizens. Can't you now see that the Canadian courts might not be lying? And don't forget what GEJ said about sponsors being in the Senate. So there is more to this than meets the eye. Why are they rehabilitating criminals and killers? Why are they not naming the sponsors even when UAE named them for us? These are my questions, Lion Boy right there. And the final one I'll be bringing on here now would be that of Samuel from Kuje. Says, good morning to you. Good morning to you too. Says, please, is cattle rearing not a personal business? Why should someone use his business to destroy other people's businesses? The government is not helping matters at all, because some of them are benefiting from all that has been happening, and this is why they are playing lip service to the issues of insecurity or security in this country. Armed herdsmen will kill a farmer and nobody will do anything to him. But when the farmer fights back, the armed herdsman dies in the process, the government will go after the farmer, who is deceiving who in this country. Thanks and remain blessed. Well, that is Samuel from Kuje right there, giving us 2 cents, on the topical issue. And I should also add that we saw on the front page of Nigerian newspapers that 84 out of the 1,119 border outlets, or post if you like, 84 are manned, but the remainder of the 1,119, I guess, unmanned. So how serious is the Nigerian government in indeed tackling insecurity? Because some people have identified that some of these guys come from, the across the border from neighboring countries, and yet 84 is officially manned out of 1,119. How do we even explain this? Are you there, Sir Benedict?
Yeah, I'm here.
So how do you explain it?
That's what we're saying practically. That look, we have too few number of boots on ground, both at the borders and in the forest. So a lot of our border posts are ungoverned. That's the implication.
So what's the way forward?
That's why the word for me is ensuring that every space that needs to be governed is appropriately governed. I think it was the former CGS, General Musa, who said we possibly should look at fencing the northern fringes of the nation. Of course, we knew that the people in that environment will protest. Just like if you decide to fence put on a border, some people will also protest. Why? Because they think they have their cousins across the border. But the truth is, we need to go beyond those emotional blackmail. If you need to have a proper fencing, go ahead and do that. Between India and Asia and China, I'm sure they have some form of fencing. Between India and Pakistan, they have some form of fencing. India and Pakistan used to be the same nation. So if they can have border control that is that strict, they are cousins as well, just the same way. There are Hausas in Nigeria, there are Hausas in Nigeria, there are Kanuris in Nigeria. We can do better. So that's why I said the focus should not be about the emotions. The focus should be about what do we do going forward.
Right.
How do we govern the ungoverned spaces? Because if you post people to those facilities, to those border posts that you are talking about, those entry points, and there are no networks there, and there are no logistics to back them, okay, you're going to possibly have to give them patrol vans that are bulletproof, right? Put the cost at about 50 million. To buy 1,000 will cost how much? That's about 50 billion, right? And are you sure you want to provide 50 billion? Because if you buy for 50 billion, you will still be fueling those vehicles. You will still maintain them. And those vehicles can be taken from them, even in ambush in those border posts. So we need to sit down constructively and come up with an agenda. This is how we intend to ensure that all these ungoverned spaces are appropriately governed.
Okay.
And that's the clarity of it.
All right.
So it's not about the rhetoric, it's not about what what has happened, but it is about what do we do from where we are going forward to ensure that everything falls in place the way they should be. And I think that all those who keep talking about whether cattle rearing is private or not, cocoa farming is also private, and government gets involved at some point. All other forms of farming, including rice, are privately run, but government provides input, government provides fertilizer. So I think we should leave the sentiment out of it and operate on the principle of live and let live.
All right,
and then remember clearly that boycott is not, it is a negative approach to development. So everybody needs to work together. Everybody needs to work together from where we are to see what we can do going forward to ensure that things work better across the nation. Because if it works, it's not working just for the president. It is working for everybody. So the focus should be, what can we do to make the nation work? Not talk about rehabilitation. If you have captured somebody alive, you are taking him to court to be tried. Now, do we actually even have enough prisons to keep these people? And even whether you jail them, you have to feed them in prison. So if there is any means of rehabilitation that is possible, it should be done. However, there should be proper monitoring and evaluation post rehabilitation to ensure that such human beings do not return to criminality. So the issue of it is wrong to rehabilitate them, I don't think that is correct.
Okay.
If God is to judge us the way we behave, all human beings should have died.
But
Nobody should be living.
Aren't you also sharing some sentiments now? But anyways, time will not let me. We will not be able to go any further. But I want to say a big thank you, Sir Benedict Olaleko Agunloye. You're an information professional, policy and public affairs analyst. Thank you for adding your voice. In the discourse this morning. This conversation is unending, and we will keep talking about it over and over until the change comes. Appreciate your time, though. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Right. Well, this is where we call it a close, though. And don't worry, 10 o'clock, we'll be right back. And to each and every one of us that added our voices, thank you. But this is also to express that the views that has been expressed here is not being influenced in any way by Eagles 102.3 FM, Abuja. My name is Udwak Daniel, and good morning to you.